Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know, we love to go deep on this show, but today we're going really deep.
Oh, yeah.
Like Mariana Trench deep. We're going to try and squeeze an entire book's worth of wisdom
Whoa.
into a single deep dive.
Yep.
Yep.
Ambitious.
It's Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the twist. We're doing it all based on a YouTube summary.
Okay.
Talk about a challenge, right?
Yeah.
But trust me, this summary, it covers a lot. It will be hitting everything from lobsters and human confidence to the ancient Greeks and how they debated, respectfully.
I'm intrigued.
So get ready for like a crash course in Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Well, it really is amazing how much this summary packs in Peterson
Yeah.
is so good at connecting ideas, from biology to psychology, even philosophy. It's a whole framework for how to live, really.
All right, so rule #1, it's stand up straight with your shoulders back.
Okay, the posture.
Right. Sounds simple, but Peterson goes way deeper than just like good posture.
Oh.
This is about dominance hierarchies. You see them everywhere in nature.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
lobsters.
It's lobsters.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He uses lobsters to show how your posture and dominance are linked, even at a hormonal level.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So like the alpha lobster.
Exactly. The winners, the top lobsters, they've got higher levels of certain hormones like serotonin, octopamine.
Huh, I didn't know that.
And those hormones, they contribute to their confidence, to that assertive posture.
So it's like chemistry and behavior all tied together.
Totally. And Peterson says this applies to us humans, too.
You think so?
Think about it. Have you ever noticed how confident people just carry themselves differently?
Yeah, actually.
It's not just about standing up straight. It's like this air of self-assurance.
Projecting that confidence.
Yes. And when you project confidence, people take you more seriously. You attract success. You just navigate the world differently.
With a sense of agency like that.
Right. But I know some people might be hearing this and thinking, doesn't this sound kind of aggressive? Like we should all be alpha lobsters battling it out.
Yeah, I see.
That's not what he's saying, though.
No, Peterson's not about aggression at all. This
Yeah.
isn't about bullying.
Okay.
It's about self-assurance.
Hmm.
It's about building that inner strength and letting it show in how you stand, how you act.
So it's not about being a jerk.
No.
Not at all. It's more about like owning your space.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something we can all work on, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating that this connection exists, that just changing your posture can change how you feel, how people see you.
It's powerful stuff. And it ties in perfectly to Peterson's rule. #2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
Okay, that's interesting. It's like flipping the usual saying around, love others as yourself.
Right. Why does he do that?
Because Peterson says we're often way harder on ourselves
Oof, isn't that the truth?
than we'd ever be on someone we actually cared about.
Yeah, we neglect our own needs, beat ourselves up over mistakes, set these crazy expectations.
Exactly. We forget to give ourselves the same compassion we so freely give to others.
And that's where the whole yin and yang concept comes in.
Oh, interesting.
Not in like a mystical way, but as a practical tool
How so?
for balance. Balance in the world, balance within ourselves. Like, just as too much indulgence is bad, so is constant self-denial.
I never thought of it like that.
It's about that middle path,
Yeah,
where you care for yourself without being self-absorbed.
that makes sense. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Exactly. If you're neglecting your own needs, you can't be there for others either.
And Peterson uses a good example here.
What's that?
Overprotective parenting.
Mm.
Too much care can be as bad as too little.
Oh, wow. I see that.
So it's that balance again. You nurture your own well-being so you can care for others well.
I love how practical this rule is. It's like, think about it. If you were responsible for someone you loved, how would you treat them? You wouldn't let them skip meals, ignore their health, beat themselves up, right?
Right.
So why do we do that to ourselves?
Good question. Peterson's challenge is to start treating ourselves with that same kindness, that attention, as if we were helping someone else.
It means prioritizing your health,
Yeah.
setting boundaries,
Mhm.
practicing self-compassion.
All those things.
And all of that leads right into rule #3, which is all about choosing your circle. Make friends with people who want the best for you.
On the surface, sounds simple,
Yeah, like common sense.
but it goes deeper.
Always deeper with Peterson. He's saying it's not just about friends who are fun, it's about surrounding yourself with people who elevate you,
Who support your growth.
who challenge you to be better.
We've all had those friends who kind of bring us down.
Oh, totally. The ones who encourage bad habits drain your energy. It's crazy how much our social circle can influence us.
Even subconsciously.
Exactly. Peterson uses the example of work teams,
How so?
Like if you put a low performer on a team of high achievers, it drags the whole team down.
Interesting.
It's more likely to do that than to inspire the low performer to step up.
That makes sense.
So it's about being intentional with who you surround yourself with.
People on a similar path of growth.
Yeah, not being judgmental or exclusive, but mindful of the energy you let into your life.
Right. And it's not about surrounding yourself with yes people either.
Okay, good point.
It's about finding those who challenge you.
Who push you, hold you accountable.
In a supportive way, of course.
Yeah.
People who celebrate your wins and help you when you stumble.
So it's about mutual growth, right? Friends who want to see you succeed.
And vice versa.
Exactly. A network of support where everyone thrives.
Precisely. And this ties into the next rule so well. Because it's not just about your circle. It's also about how you view your own progress.
Oh, rule #4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
Ooh, that's a good one.
So relevant, right?
Yeah.
Especially with social media today.
It's the comparison trap.
We're constantly bombarded with these perfect lives. The accomplishments, the possessions, the relationships.
It's easy to feel inadequate.
Totally. And Peterson makes this distinction between self-critique, which is healthy,
Yeah.
and comparison, which is toxic.
Why is that?
Because self-critique helps you grow.
Okay.
It's looking inward to see where you can improve. But comparison, it steals your joy. It makes you focus on what you lack, not what you've achieved.
I see that.
It takes you off your own path and makes you feel inadequate.
That's so demotivating.
Right. So it's not about ignoring your flaws or settling, but about shifting your focus from external validation to internal growth.
Focusing on your own journey.
Exactly. You're on a unique path. Comparison just robs you of joy.
I like that. A thief of joy.
Peterson uses a great analogy here, the home inspector analogy.
Oh, I like analogies.
Imagine you're inspecting your own life, but not to compare it to someone else's house.
Right.
It's to identify what needs repair, what's already strong.
Makes sense.
An honest look at where you are, strengths and weaknesses.
And that's
Focus on making small improvements over time.
incremental progress.
Exactly. This focus on what you can control, your own personal growth. It's something Peterson comes back to a lot. And it leads us to a topic that's especially relevant for parents.
Ooh. Which rule is that?
Rule #5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them.
Whoa. Okay. That's a strong one.
It might sound harsh at first,
Yeah, a little bit.
but stick with me. As parents, we naturally want our kids to like us,
Of course.
to be their friend.
Yeah.
But Peterson's saying sometimes being a good parent means being willing to be disliked.
Oh, that's tough. But I see what he's getting at.
At least in the short term, yeah.
Yeah.
I think every parent struggles with that. Wanting to be liked versus doing what's truly best for your kid.
Even if it makes them mad at you.
Exactly. And
Wow.
Peterson says it's in those moments when you have to set boundaries and force rules, even when they push back.
That's when
You're actually teaching them some of the most valuable lessons.
about the real world.
Yes, that actions have consequences, that not everyone's going to cater to their every whim.
It's tough love, but important.
It's preparing them for life. And Peterson really emphasizes instilling those core values early on.
Like what?
Kindness, respect, responsibility.
The fundamentals.
It's like giving them a moral compass.
To navigate life.
So it's not about being a dictator
Right.
or micromanaging every move.
Right.
It's about setting clear expectations, helping them understand their choices have consequences.
And Peterson gives some practical advice too, right?
Wow.
For parents who are struggling with this.
He does, like presenting a united front.
Especially in two-parent households.
Yeah, kids are pros at playing parents against each other.
Oh, yeah.
So consistency is key.
And what about punishments?
He talks about choosing punishments that fit the crime,
Oh,
like taking away video games for a week. Might make sense for some things, not for others.
It's about being firm but fair.
Exactly, and it all comes back to knowing your child.
Right. Their personality, what motivates them.
Discipline shouldn't be about punishment for its own sake.
It should be about guidance.
Helping them make better choices. developing that self-discipline and resilience.
That they'll need to thrive.
This idea of taking responsibility for our own lives, making the best choices we can, it's central to Peterson's next rule.
What's that?
Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
That's a good one. Especially today, with everything going on.
It's so easy to get caught up in outrage and blame.
Yeah.
But it's an age-old question, really, isn't it?
What's that?
Why do bad things happen to good people?
Oh, yeah. The big questions.
It's haunted philosophers and theologians forever.
What does Peterson say about it?
He acknowledges the temptation to despair
Yeah.
or to point fingers.
To get consumed by the injustice.
He actually references Tolstoy.
Oh, yeah.
Tolstoy had these 4 possible responses to the world's unfairness.
Like what?
Childlike ignorance, just not knowing.
Okay.
Hedonistic pleasure, just seeking pleasure.
Right.
Suicide, or choosing to struggle on despite it all.
Those are pretty bleak options.
Yeah, right. But Peterson, he offers a more hopeful perspective.
Where does he get that from?
From the experiences of Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
Solzhenitsyn's story is amazing, even facing imprisonment and cancer in the Soviet Gulag.
Unbelievable.
He focused on finding meaning and purpose instead of bitterness.
He wouldn't let his circumstances define him.
Exactly, and that's the heart of Peterson's message.
Which is?
We might not be able to control the world's injustices,
What?
but we can control our own responses.
Okay.
We can focus on what we can control.
Like what?
Setting our own house in order.
Our own lives.
Yes, taking ownership of your own sphere of influence. Making positive changes within yourself and your immediate surroundings.
You don't have to wait for the world to be perfect.
Exactly. You can find meaning and purpose right where you are.
I like that. It reminds me of that saying, bloom where you're planted.
Perfect. It's about making the most of your circumstances, even when they're tough. And this leads perfectly into Peterson's next rule, which is all about finding meaning even when things are hard.
Okay, tell me more.
It's pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient.
What does he mean by that?
He's saying when we feel powerless to change the world around us,
Yeah.
it's easy to chase those quick fixes,
The things that feel good in the moment.
but don't actually solve anything.
Oh, I do that all the time.
We all do. Peterson uses this analogy of the monkey in the cookie jar.
A monkey.
The monkey gets its hand stuck trying to grab a cookie,
Okay.
but it can't get its hand out because it won't let go of the cookie.
Oh, I see. It's a trap.
It's a trap we all fall into. We get so fixated on that immediate reward, we lose sight of the bigger picture.
So how do we break free?
Peterson says the antidote is sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Not just any sacrifice, though,
Okay.
the kind that benefits others.
Ah, I see.
That contributes to something bigger than yourself. Aligning your actions with your values. Making choices that serve a greater good.
That's powerful.
He uses another great analogy here.
Hit me with it.
The lotus flower.
Oh, beautiful.
It starts in the mud at the bottom of a lake,
Okay.
but slowly, steadily it grows upwards, eventually emerging from the water and blossoming in the sun.
Wow, what a metaphor.
It's about personal growth, the transformative power of striving for something meaningful,
Even when it's hard.
even when it requires effort and sacrifice.
The lotus.
Exactly. True fulfillment. It doesn't come from instant gratification.
It comes from pursuing what matters.
Yes, even when it's hard, even when it demands delayed gratification.
That delayed gratification is tough.
The lotus teaches us that growth often comes from the darkest places, the most challenging places.
I like that. And it makes me think about all the people who have made huge sacrifices, not for themselves, but for others.
For the betterment of humanity.
Exactly. It shows we all have the capacity to make a difference.
To contribute to something bigger than ourselves. And that brings us to a rule that requires a lot of honesty and self-awareness.
Which is?
Tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
We all tell little white lies sometimes.
Sure, those social niceties.
Yeah.
But Peterson's talking about something much deeper.
You mean?
He's talking about the lies we tell ourselves.
Oh, self-deception.
It's the stuff that prevents us from facing hard truths, from reaching our full potential.
Yeah, I get that.
He uses the term life-wise.
Life-wise.
It was coined by Alfred Adler, the psychologist.
Okay.
It describes the things we do to get what we think we want.
Even if it's not good for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we build up these stories to protect our egos.
To avoid our fears.
And that's the danger of self-deception. It
Yeah.
creates this false sense of security that prevents us from growing. We convince ourselves we already know everything.
That we can't change.
And that closes us off to new possibilities.
I see that.
So this rule is about being radically honest with yourself.
Oh,
Looking in the mirror and acknowledging your shortcomings, your motivations, your areas for growth.
that's tough, but necessary
It's about being aware of when you're telling yourself stories.
to avoid the truth.
Yes.
Really, growth requires vulnerability.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge your flaws and imperfections.
It starts small, right?
It does.
Yeah.
Just being honest about your progress, admitting when you've fallen short, making adjustments, it's building that foundation of honesty with yourself.
So you can then be honest with others.
Exactly. If you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest with anyone else?
That's a good point. Speaking of honesty with others, Peterson's next rule is so relevant right now
What is it?
with how polarized everything is.
Oh, yeah.
People getting into arguments all the time.
Dismissing other viewpoints.
He says, assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't.
Such a simple concept.
How powerful.
In a world where everyone's got an opinion and wants to share it,
Yeah.
we forget that we can learn from everyone,
Even those we disagree with.
even those we disagree with. Peterson, he draws on ancient Greek philosophy.
Oh, interesting.
Back then, they really valued respectful debate.
The pursuit of truth.
They understood that by exchanging ideas, challenging each other,
You could arrive at a deeper understanding.
and he gives us this simple technique to put this into practice.
Tell me.
Listen carefully to what someone is saying,
Okay.
then summarize it back to them.
I make sure you understand.
Exactly. It's a brilliant tool for communication and empathy.
Takes you out of your echo chamber.
It forces you to consider other viewpoints, requires a shift in mindset, though.
How so?
You got to approach conversations with curiosity and humility.
Not the need to be right.
Exactly. It all comes back to that core assumption that everyone has something valuable to contribute.
Even if you don't agree at first.
Recognizing the worth and dignity of every person, no matter their beliefs or opinions.
I like that a lot. And this leads into his next rule, which is all about language.
Be precise in your speech.
That might sound kind of boring.
Maybe, but I think it's incredibly important.
How come?
In a world of social media, sound bites, everything oversimplified,
Yeah, true.
we lose sight of the power of language.
Words matter.
They do. Peterson says precision in language, it brings order to chaos.
Ooh, that's good.
When we're vague or imprecise,
What happens?
it creates confusion, misunderstandings, conflict.
Yeah, for sure.
He gives all these examples,
Good.
describing car trouble, articulating relationship problems. When you're precise, you can identify the root of the problem.
And find solutions.
And this applies to how we talk to ourselves, too.
Oh, internally.
When you're clear about what you're feeling, what you need, you can navigate your own emotions better, communicate more effectively with others.
So it's about being mindful of your words.
All the time, internally and externally. Recognizing that language can create clarity,
Or confusion.
build bridges or walls.
We got to take responsibility for our communication.
Strive to be as clear, accurate, and respectful as possible.
Okay, I'm with you. Now, Peterson's next rule is a little different.
Yeah, this one's a curveball.
What is it?
Do not bother children when they are skateboarding.
Skateboarding. Okay. I did not see that coming.
Right. Seems kind of out of left field.
Yeah.
But there's a deeper meaning here, as always.
What is it?
It's about embracing differences
Okay.
and recognizing that traits that might seem negative in one context.
Could be positive in another.
Exactly. He uses skateboarders as an example.
Okay.
They often embody these traits like risk-taking,
Mm-hmm.
physicality, a little bit of rebelliousness.
Which some might say is like toxic masculinity.
Right. But Peterson argues that those same traits
When channeled the right way.
can be incredibly valuable.
Oh, I see.
Skateboarders, they show courage, resilience,
Mm-hmm.
a willingness to push boundaries, master their bodies.
It's a different kind of strength.
It is. And it's a reminder to not judge people too quickly.
Not to categorize them based on what you see on the surface.
Exactly. Be open to the possibility that even those who seem different,
Who challenge us.
they have something unique to offer.
It's a call for tolerance, understanding.
Seeing the potential in everyone.
Even those who don't fit our neat little boxes of what's good.
It's about embracing diversity, recognizing that our differences
When used constructively,
can make us stronger as a society.
celebrate the full spectrum of human expression.
And finally, we arrive at Peterson's last rule.
Which is,
Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street.
wait, what?
I know, right? After all that talk about hierarchies and responsibility and facing hardship.
Right. Seems so simple.
Almost whimsical.
What's the message there?
It's a beautiful reminder
Of what?
to slow down, to be present,
To enjoy the simple things?
to savor those small moments of beauty and connection.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
It is, and Peterson actually shares a very personal story here
Oh, what's that?
about his daughter who's dealt with chronic pain for much of her life.
Oh, wow. That's tough.
He talks about how in the face of such suffering,
Yeah.
it's easy to get overwhelmed by negativity.
It's hard to see the
But it's in those moments, he says,
when it's most important.
to actively seek out moments of joy, however small they may be.
To find those glimmers of light.
Exactly. Peterson describes how he found himself clinging to even the slightest improvements in his daughter's condition.
Those little signs of hope.
That kept him going.
And the cat analogy.
It's so powerful.
Oh, why?
Because it reminds us that sometimes the simplest things,
Could bring us the most joy.
a moment with an animal, a beautiful sunset, a kind gesture,
Those everyday miracles.
the things that make life worth living, the things that remind us of the beauty and goodness that still exists in the world,
It's a call to pay attention.
to those small moments,
To cultivate that sense of
to
wonder.
appreciate those everyday miracles.
Which we often take for granted.
we do.
Yeah.
So after this whirlwind tour of Peterson's 12 rules,
Yeah, we covered a lot.
from lobsters and dominance hierarchies,
To truth-telling and petting cats.
what does it all mean? What's the overarching message?
It's about navigating life's complexities, isn't it?
Finding meaning and purpose.
Even when things are tough.
Peterson offers a framework
For self-improvement.
for acceptance, for striving for excellence.
And embracing the simple joys.
It's about finding that balance
Between order and chaos.
between pushing yourself and accepting yourself.
It's a journey, not a destination.
These rules, they're meant to be revisited as we grow and evolve.
Absolutely. Now for you, dear listener.
Yes. For you listening, I have a question for you.
What's that?
Which of these 12 rules resonated with you the most?
And why?
What will you do differently after this deep dive?
We encourage you to explore Peterson's work further. See how these principles can apply to your life.
Take small steps, make conscious choices.
Embrace the journey of self-discovery.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life
We hope you found it insightful.
and are inspired to keep exploring these ideas.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
It's about cultivating gratitude, appreciating those little things, those glimmers of light, even when things are dark.
Peterson talks about how he clung to those tiny improvements in his daughter's condition.
Yeah,
Those little signs of hope,
they make all the difference. And the cat analogy, it's so perfect
Why is that?
because it reminds us that sometimes the simplest things,
Can create the most joy.
exactly, a moment with an animal, a beautiful sunset, a kind word from a stranger,
The stuff we usually take for granted.
those are the things that make life worth living, that remind us that there's still good in the world.
It's about being a present.
Yes, paying attention to those little moments,
Cultivating that sense of wonder.
appreciating the everyday miracles. So after this whirlwind tour of Peterson's 12 rules,
Yeah, we've been through a lot.
from lobsters and dominance,
To truth-telling and petting cats.
what's the overarching message here?
It's about navigating life, right? All the complexities.
Finding meaning, finding purpose.
Even when things are tough.
Peterson gives us this framework
For self-improvement. Yeah.
for acceptance, for striving to be better.
And for finding joy in the simple things.
It's about balance, isn't it?
Between order and chaos. Pushing yourself and accepting yourself.
It's a journey.
Not a destination.
These rules, they're meant to be revisited as we grow, as we change. Now I have a question for you listening.
Shoot.
Which of these 12 rules really resonated with you?
Ooh, good question. And why that one?
What will you do differently after this deep dive?
We encourage you to check out Peterson's work, See how these principles can work in your life.
Take small steps, make conscious choices.
Embrace the journey, the self-discovery.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
We hope you got something out of it.
and are inspired to keep exploring these ideas.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
It's about finding that gratitude, appreciating those little things, those glimmers of light, even when things are dark.
Peterson talks about how he clung to those tiny improvements in his daughter's condition.
Yeah.
Those little signs of hope,
They make all the difference. And the cat analogy, it's so perfect.
Why is it
Because it reminds us that sometimes the simplest things.
can bring us the most joy.
Exactly. A moment with an animal, a beautiful sunset, a kind word from a stranger.
The stuff we usually take for granted.
Those are the things that make life worth living, that remind us that there's still good in the world.
It's about being present,
Yes. Paying attention to those little moments.
cultivating that sense of wonder.
Appreciating the everyday miracles. So after this whirlwind tour of Peterson's 12 rules,
Yeah, we've been through a lot.
from lobsters and dominance,
To truth-telling and petting cats.
what's the overarching message here?
It's about navigating life, right? All the complexities,
Igniting meaning, finding purpose.
even when things are tough.
Peterson gives us this framework
For self-improvement, yeah.
for acceptance, for striving to be better.
And for finding joy in the simple things.
It's about balance, isn't it?
Between order and chaos. Pushing yourself and accepting yourself.
It's a journey.
Not a destination.
Yes, these rules, they're meant to be revisited as we grow, as we change. Now, I have a question for you listening.
Shoot.
Which of these 12 rules really resonated with you?
Ooh, good question. And why that one?
What will you do differently after this deep dive?
We encourage you to check out Peterson's work, See how these principles can work in your life.
Take small steps, make conscious choices.
Embrace the journey, the self-discovery.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life
We hope you got something out of it.
and are inspired to keep exploring these ideas.
Until next time, keep diving deep.